We have 2 days left of 2023. And shit is still going down in flames. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse podcast. This is Mr. Fox of the I Refuse podcast. I'm back. So here it is, December 29th. We're 2 days away from 2023 coming to a close. And shit's crazy out here. So, first things first. Trina recently shook the table when asked who is a rapper that has opened the doors by the means of female rap. Before the interviewer can get the question completely out of his mouth, Trina said Beyonce. Now, of course, when a person's asked a question, they'll elaborate. And then by the time it gets to the Bird app, people only repeat or circulate the first part of the answer. And of course, y'all are throwing yourselves out the window, dousing yourselves in gasoline and lighting yourselves on fire over mere interview questions, trying with a low level of perception, try to convince the rest of us that, well, Trina apparently has beef with Queen Nikki, whatever. So those of us that have been outside, I'm here to say, Mr. Fox the I Refuse podcast, those of us that have been outside since 1998 are aware that Beyonce has been rapping for about 25 years. It didn't start with Everything Is Love, didn't start with My House, it didn't even start with the 4 album. This started with No 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 Part 2. This went on with Bills, 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 Bugaboo, what else? Jumpin' to an extent. She's been doing the rhythmic, syncopatic rapping with the singing for a while now. But that's not to say that she is the only one. When I think of Trina's answer, I think what she's saying is Beyonce is the one that's bringing what rapping is meant to be, or her idea of rap. Beyonce is really the only one that's doing it. When you think about it, a lot of what we consider rap, or the powers that be considered to be rap, is more pop and has more of a rock sensibility to it. They want us to believe that Post Malone is a rapper, but when you listen to his music, he's doing more vocalizing pop and putting rock and stuff behind it. No. Eminem is pretty much single note at this point. You know, he's pretty much coasted on being the only white rapper for a long time doing the rapping thing, but, you know, his stuff has kind of gone stale. But the most telling thing about Trina's response wasn't the implication that Beyonce opened doors for female rap, but for the fact that after 20 years, Trina couldn't bring herself to say her own name. And, you know, we're in this era right now where Trina is getting her flowers. You know, she got the I Am Hip Hop Award at the Hip Hop BET Awards. She did the verses with Eve. And she's pretty much the only female rapper at this point with the most consistent catalog. And Trina is not the rapper's singer. Trina strictly raps. Now, could very well debate if she's doing it to everybody's liking, if she's doing it correctly, if she has diversified her sound or her lyrical ability since 1998. Or is it the same style for the past 25 years? Regardless of that, Trina's really the only rapper that has about 9 or 10 albums and is still rapping. But that was very telling above all else. Not really tripping over Beyonce opening the doors for female rap. But I am very much in agreement with Trina's statement that Beyonce is a great rapper when she raps. Not the greatest. You know, there's a very small list of female rappers that come to my mind that like fit all the areas. You know, you got to be able to go through a freestyle, hit some acapella, do a hot 16. You still do that and really connect with people. You got my attention. So the discourse, though, down here on the Bird app, where y'all are just pushing back on Trina, expecting her to probably fold. No, she stands 10 toes down with what she said. And I can do nothing but respect that. Like, I really think this app, this social media stuff, makes y'all thugs. Y'all can't pull up on anybody. Your Wi-Fi signal is barely strong enough to be even coming at people. What you think she gonna do? You thought the Queen of Miami is going to like cower, and nothing she said was inflammatory or derogatory. But it's been fun, you know, the past 24 hours on the Bird app, revisiting Beyonce's rap moments. You know, like I said, she wasn't the first to do it. She's not the only one to do it. She's not the only singer that sometimes raps or raps and sometimes sings. You know, you have Lauryn Hill, you have Missy Elliott, you have Queen Latifah, sometimes in the same song where they're doing the verses, they do their own rap, or there's rapping and singing on the same album. But another point is when you think of a standard that's been set, a standard that is so strong that what we have otherwise existing and producing and putting out music is pales in comparison. It all comes back to Beyonce. When you think of like the last 10 or 15 years, an artist that sings, vocalizes, harmonizes, has an ear for all things vocal production, and raps phonetically, like very, very frantic, but you catch all the words. It's not a mumble rapper. Got to keep in mind that Beyonce also has great breath control. You don't hear the girl breathing in real fast on the mic and then goes back into the bars. Beyonce. You know, there aren't that many rappers, male or female, that still rap, not trying to do the rap pop thing. On that level. I mean, Nicki's cool. You know, her lyrical mind and her wittiness and her wordplay, pretty good for the most part, not taking anything away from her. But it's just not, the landscape right now is just not what you look at and say, damn, this is rap. This is what's keeping the door open for rap. This is what's really hitting the mark. You know, to kind of try to get through 23 songs, much less 18 or 15 songs, where it's just done by number, same formula, trying to reach different demographics, and it's not cohesive. Can't name an album from the last 10 or 15 years from a rapper that hits those marks. I mean, that's the real conversation. You know, when Beyonce came out with Destiny's Child back in 98, a lot of people were just not sure what to take from the fast, syncopatic singing that sounded more like she was rapping. In melody, in chorus, in rhythm. Then she continued that on The Writings on the Wall. Like she really had something going. And it was selling nonetheless. But at first people were like, why she gotta say everything 3 times? And why she sound like that? Why is she going so fast? Y'all were like, some of y'all were down in the comments looking so confused. Well, give me some Beyonce bars. A lot of us can name probably about 5 or 6 songs. Give you bars from Upgrade You. Give you bars from Diva. Let's see, what else? Even just from her solo stuff. And y'all were just like, on mute. On mute. But it was cute. It was cute. I give y'all that. 2 more days. I wonder what else is going to come down and hit us in the next 48 hours. Now, The Color Purple has been out 4 days. And it's already been reported that within the first 2 days, it's hit roughly $20 to $25 million. But there are 2 things that have come out that have got people in such a tizzy. First, y'all couldn't believe that they actually played out in the movie that Celie and Suge Avery were indeed lesbian lovers. Y'all were flabbergasted. Y'all were surprised. Like, oh, what is this? They're in bed together. Now, those of us that have been outside for the past 30 or some odd years know that the 1985 movie is not the source material for the Broadway musical version and for the theatrical version that's out now of the Broadway play. Those of us that have been outside know that it is indeed the book that is the source material. And in the book, not only were Celie and Suge lesbian lovers, but indeed Celie, Suge Avery, and I believe it was Mr. were in a full-fledged throuple. But that's not the focal point of the story. Matter of fact, in the book, it was also Squeak didn't run off with Harpo. She ran off with Suge Avery's boyfriend. And there's even a scene that didn't make the 1985 version where Squeak and Suge Avery's boyfriend, what was that guy's name in the movie, the 1985 movie? Was it Walt or Gordon or Oscar or something? But anyway, makes me wonder how history have changed had they went full-fledged in the movie as a reflection of the book. But clearly, from what I gather, this movie that came out on the 25th pulls not only from the movie, but also the book in some aspects. And it's 2023. Lesbianism did not just start yesterday. I don't know if y'all went to the movies thinking y'all were going to get like a Sunday best, Mahalia Jackson type of thing. You get a musical, you get a more well-rounded piece of theater and movie where you actually walk away with the idea that Mr. is a flawed human being, not just an abuser, but also the product of his own circumstances. But yes, let's just run to social media to highlight that part. Celie and Suge Avery are in the bed, possibly bumping purses. But also, not even realize how progressive it is in comparison to the 1985 movie, where it was risque just to even say the L word in the movie. And to the point that the most you got as far as intimacy between Suge and Celie was the kiss in the movie. But also, they got a lot of hell back in the day from the NAACP. That collective over there that swears they're all about positive upliftment. It's absolutely possible to be pro-Black and respect the art and the creative license that people take with storytelling. Because best believe there's a lot of politics involved in movies as well. But of course, people were up in arms about The Color Purple back in the 80s, not realizing that once again, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. And the reason why The Color Purple left the Academy Awards with no wins back in 1985, 1986, whatever, is because of the NAACP causing such a ruckus. Like, a lot of people don't realize that white supremacy goes both ways. Like, at some point you realize, we don't have to look to them to make us look bad. We do it to ourselves. Like, they were so pissed that Steven Spielberg was the one directing the movie. You know, this Jewish director, not realizing he was, by having his name and his range as a director, this wasn't an overnight sensation. Directing the movie, like, the movie is amazing. Just saying, like, every fight, that it doesn't have to be a fight at every corner. And while we're on the subject of WS, a lot of people on the Bird app, realize that Colman Domingo, who I believe will win an Academy Award or a Golden Globe of some kind, if not for The Color Purple, maybe for Rustin. In one of his various magazine interviews, you know, there's a photo spread, and in one of the photos that's part of the interview or the article is a picture of Colman Domingo and his husband, Raul. Didn't hit people that Raul is well, the name alone is a non-white name. All that really mattered for people was the picture. You have this dark-skinned black man with a mustache, who aesthetically or physically very attractive and likened to, what's the guy's name that was in the Wakanda movie? The Winston guy. And here's the thing. We find ourselves circling back around to a phenomenon that was popular in the 90s and the early 2000s amongst black women, where they see a handsome, and it's still like that, but they've kind of dialed it back a little bit. You see a handsome black man in a movie on the microphone, doing his job, making you, I guess, fall in love with him. And then when you see him on the red carpet or at the award show, he's with a white woman. And here come the descendants of Black Panthers coming out of everybody. Wow. We lost another one, ladies. He's with a white woman, or, you know, Colman's situation is, why is it, you know, every handsome black man always gets a methed out looking, dehydrated white person? And first of all, Raul's not white. Raul's a minority like the rest of us. But, you know, it's the visual. You know, never mind the range of talent, never mind why Colman's here. You know, it's almost like we're looking for something else to take away. You know, to side-eye Colman. It's just like, damn, this man just got to the spotlight. And it's not like he was an overnight success. But why is it that we have to link somebody's credibility or value to their width? Um, and have this attitude that, you can't be, and this is more us putting this into the equation. Well, how can you be pro-black if you're not with a black person? Or how can you be this? How can you be about us and you're not with us? And to some degree, it's the same story that other people tell us. Can't control who you fall in love with. And we find ourselves when we like kind of, I guess, punch up, facing the opinion that, people like what they like. It would be the same kind of responses you would tell somebody if you excluded other demographics, other races of folks from the accessibility and the options to you. And just to believe it's crazy even to me. Like some people out here have their preference down to weight class, like their boxing, a height requirement, like their roller coaster ride. You can't be too skinny. You can't be too fat. You have to be muscular. You have to have this size foot. Dumb shit. And I believe that all of that just comes from watching a lot of porn. And don't say y'all don't do it. And somehow having the beauty standard warped some of y'all's minds. Because trust and believe, the great thing about having a range is that you're not starving. You're not in competition. You can really just take it or leave it. And also, you look around and you're like, people with a preference are finding themselves limited to options that make them comfortable, options that are purely superficial, thus trivial. And those of us that are out here in the audience, when you have these content creators tweeting that, oh, they'll have to go get a regular job. Like, you're really at a point in your life where you'd rather entertain the idea of leaving OnlyFans just for fans or adult content creation in general to work a regular job versus diversifying your tastes. Just giving it a shot. Yeah. Very weird. Very, very weird. But yeah, like, I saw it, I was just like, I knew he was married to a person that wasn't black, but was probably Latino or Spanish or Colombian or South American. And the thing about it is, on the one hand, I wouldn't say sympathize with, or I have a little bit of empathy for people that feel some kind of way when they see that. Because it's like, you get to a certain point in life, and trust and believe, I'm aware of the history in, with actors and actresses who marry a different race to A, play the game, and B, use that as a means to get more roles, live a comfortable life, and all that other stuff. But at the same time, it's like this particular person's not white. And I wouldn't even go that far as to say, I don't think Colman's with this guy for that. Because Colman's talent, speaks for itself. And not for nothing, Colman has been doing movies a great while now. And not just any old rinky-dinky movie. I listed the movies that he's done the past 4 or 5 years in the previous video. That we really should be looking at the catalog, the credits, and measuring or evaluating his talent off of that, because that's what it's about. We're not talking like we haven't seen this before. If Colman wants to be with this man, let him be with that man, live his life, run let it run its course. Because another thing that we're finding out in these interracial celebrity relationships, particularly when it's same sex, is that it's not all, glitz and glamour and glory. No, we kind of, from what I witnessed, people get to a point in their careers that it kind of folds into itself and it becomes something else that is teetering on being annoying and comes off forced. It's no longer feeling organic. And you find this person doing a lot of extra stuff for attention. It could be the midlife, but when you see a lot of that in the forefront and you're not seeing this person at work, but the ostentatious stuff is going up. It's greater and greater and greater, and everything is more performative. Used to be something interesting. Now, with the fashions, and now it's like it's become something else. And during the course of that, the person they've been with for a long time, a white person, they broke up, they're getting divorced, and they want us to believe that they had to give up their house because of the lack of roles. But here's the thing. When it comes to the actors and the actresses that are talking about, disparity in pay and, we're only making X amount in comparison to our peers to our white comrades and our white peers, it's a case of apples and oranges. And it's, when you're known more so in, black spaces and playing the the pigeonholed roles where you're like really loud or, as white people would say, really urban. You kind of limit your opportunities. When you think of actors and actresses, and I was saying in a previous video, some of them feel run down and worn out, and they're not seeing their pay go up. Like movies and music and film and all that and TV shows, it's a numbers game. And at the end of the day, you're in the industry of entertainment. And if, the amount of money you could probably make or negotiate for your next film is contingent upon the success of your previous works. And also, time and service. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing the films? That's all I'm saying. But here we are, going around in circles, being disgusted, really about the wrong shit. Here it is, 2 days left in 2023, and I said on the Bird app, you think the rest of the year, the past 11 months, 11 and a half months of a year have been crazy. You find yourself saying, oh, this wasn't on my bingo card. The last 2 weeks in December, the last 5 days of the year, some crazy shit. So, what's this I hear about Amber Rose and Chris Rock dating? Sometimes circling the block is taken too literal. I would have never have imagined that Chris Rock would eventually circle back around to date Amber Rose. Now, for those of you that have not aware of where I'm going with this, let's go back to 2012, 2013? Or maybe earlier than that. When Kanye West released My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, in the latter part of the album, there's a song called The Blame Game. John Legend singing the chorus, Kanye is doing his parts, and towards the end of the song is a spoken word piece by Chris Rock, which is iconic. I believe Chris Rock is playing the part of the character that Amber Rose cheated on Kanye with. It's essentially a parody, right? Which counteracts the devastating, emotionally charged sadness that Kanye has poured out into the rest of the song leading up to this point. Chris Rock is like, oh, I still can't believe you got me this watch. Who told you to get this watch from a motherfucker? Yeezy. Yeezy taught me. Oh, who got your punani all reupholstered? Yeezy reupholstered my punani. Oh, who taught you how to get all pretty for a motherfucker? Yeezy taught me. But here we are, December 29th, 2023. Chris Rock, they say, is dating Amber Rose. Has the well gone dry? Has the well gone dry? This is Mr. Foxy I Refuse podcast. I'm going to probably make this my last video of 2023 on the YouTube. Of course, I'm going to resume back in January. Be sure to check out the I Refuse podcast as it lives and breathes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, be sure to check out the YouTube channel where you see this video. Get into the usual suspects. Currently in season 2. It's me and my co-host, Abstract Sagittarius. The I Refuse podcast After Dark, which is coming back January 1st, season 2. And of course, the last 4 seasons of the I Refuse podcast. We have the Twitter at I Refuse Podcast. Also, we have the Instagram at I Refuse Podcast, _ between the words. Sometimes I blog on WordPress. The link is in the bio. So you have my Linktree link on all my social medias for the podcast. And we will catch you guys on the flip side. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse.